Hello, Augies Worldwide. I'm Dave Kassler, amateur radio call sign KE0OG, here with another episode of Ask Dave. The question is very short, and I can answer it in a single word. The question comes from Brent Safroniak. Safroniak. Victor Alpha 6, November. I apologize for that name. That's pretty bad. People don't like their names being mispronounced. Mine is Kassler. I've heard Kassler, Kasler, all kinds of things. It is, I guess, I don't know. It's widely mispronounced. If I had a nickel for every time somebody mispronounced my name, I'd be a rich man. His question is very simple. Do you still like your BigIR vertical over your Butternut? The answer is yes. Okay, let's talk a little bit about different types of vertical antennas. The principle here is you can pay anything you want for a vertical. But a vertical is a vertical is a vertical. Okay? A vertical is a vertical is a vertical. So all of your verticals are going to perform about the same. Now, you might get plus or minus 3 dB or something like that if one is beautifully installed versus one that's not beautifully installed. But a vertical is a vertical is a vertical. Okay. Now, the simplest way to make a vertical is to hang a wire from a tree. And this wire is 1/4 of a wavelength. Okay, so for 40 meters, that would be 10 meters approximately. Okay, or 33 feet. So if you've got a tree up here and you put a, bungee cord or something up here to keep it from snapping in the wind, bring this down to the ground, put an insulator on it, put a ground rod in here, okay, and then spread radials out on the ground like this, okay, and you attach the center of the coax to the vertical part, and you attach the braid to the radials, and you make sure that there's an insulator in there. And holding that up in a tall tree is the easiest way to do it, because then you can use wire. So you can get a a spool of house wire. You can get, just the single wire THHN, which means it'll have insulation on it, okay, which is nice. And I find the stranded wire a lot easier to deal with, okay? And these radials do not have to be any particular length. It is actually better for a given length of wire, given L, to have more shorter instead of fewer longer. I'd say 25 feet-ish. Now, this will make a very nice vertical antenna. It's only 40 meters, notice that. Okay. Now, if you follow the philosophy of the DX Commander antenna, you can put a spacer here and hold out. This is easy if you've got a plastic mast, and hold out a 20-meter element. This is your 40-meter element, and so on down here, and build a fan vertical. All this can be done homemade out of that same roll, a spool, from Home Depot. You get 500 feet of wire. You can make your verticals and have a lot of wire left for radials, okay? There's a cheap way to make a vertical. There's a cheap way to make a fan vertical, okay? And you don't have to pay so much money. These are full-size verticals. And if you put enough radials out, they'll operate like any vertical. The nice thing about the vertical, okay, is that the horizontal pattern is fairly low. It's a bit of an exaggeration, but they're fairly low, okay? And you don't have problems with double lobing like you have when you put things high in the air, because each antenna starts on the ground. Now, let me tell you a secret. Here's your antenna. Here's your 20-meter element, your 15-meter element, your 12-meter element. Now, your 12-meter element is 1/4 wavelength. What happens if you add another dipole on top of this, which is 1/2 lambda on top of this, for a total of 3/4 lambda? Okay, you've got your quarter, and this is the end of the antenna, so it's high voltage. Okay, that will feed into a half-wave dipole stuck on top of it, feed it nicely. You get a 3/4 wave antenna. And what that does to the pattern, instead of this, it does this. Okay, narrower, closer to the ground, better for DX. You could do that if you want. Okay, now let's talk about commercial antennas. Commercial antennas come in two flavors. There are the kinds that are just like I drew here, except they've got traps for sectioning out the parts to go with the different bands. My very first antenna was a 14 AVQ, and it did that. It had trap. It was a trapped antenna. A lot of people don't like traps these days because they are often seen as gobbling up your power. I don't know that that's true, but they're seen that way. Now, you can also get them with weird things like the Butternut. Here's the Butternut antenna, and it comes up all the way to here, and it has various, here's quarter wave sections that will stop the antenna's use it here and here, so you can use that for 10, 15, and so on. It has some stubs and tuning coils and some capacitors on it and so on, so that it will operate on 40, 30, 20, 17, although poorly, 15, and 10. Now, it will also operate on 80, but only about a 25 kilohertz segment. So it's very high Q for 80. Okay, and there is a little coil down here for 80. All right? Now, that's an expensive way of building an antenna. There are no traps. These are quarter wave transmission lines, and if this is 0, this must be the high voltage point here, and it'll shut that down right there. And so that shortens it for those ends. And then there's a bunch of coils on here. The 30-meter coil hangs off the 40-meter coil. I think it's up here, actually. And the problem is that the 30 and the 40, the tuning of the two, is tied like in a Gordian knot. It's just very difficult to deal with. The only way I got it tuned the last time I put it up was to have my wife sit in the shack with the antenna analyzer while I went back and forth and back and forth, back and forth and back and forth to get a reasonable tune out of these things. The antenna actually is optimum at 20 meters. And these others right here, they have to electrically shorten the antenna in order for it to work. That's a complex antenna, and it is not cheap. And let's just look up the price for it, okay? The antenna is, we'll go to DX Engineering since Butternut no longer exists. DX Engineering bought all their stuff. So we'll go here for Butternut. And the HF9V, are you ready for this? $750. And that just gives you the antenna. That doesn't give you wire for the radials, because this thing needs as many radials as you can give it. I think I had 30 when I put the thing out there. What I discovered is that the thing does not perform at all unless it has a big radial field. Now, the radials are all different lengths because they were put in at different times and so on. I used the DX Engineering radial mounting plate to hook them together. And did it work? Yes, it worked. It worked very well. But now the problem was, I've had it for so long, over, I think, close to 25 years. Okay. And it works, but it doesn't work any better than that vertical antenna I showed you could make yourself if you're going to hang it from a tall tree. Doesn't work any better. A vertical is a vertical is a vertical. So there you have it. If you would like to support this channel, you can. bcasler.com/support. If you'd like to enter the giveaway, you can. bcasler.com/giveaway. Please subscribe, please like, and until we next meet, 73.